The Coach Kevin McMilllan Show is brought to you by BSN Sports.
Chris Brinkley on the Coach Kevin McMillan Show. We're talking UT Martin women's basketball. Coach, you had a big game this past Saturday night against Missouri. A tough game, though. Your team led by as many as 19 against the Southeastern Conference school. Bittersweet in that you did a lot of things really well, but you didn't win the game.
Yeah, we did a lot of things well. Probably as good as we've played for 25, 28, 30 minutes. And then they went zone, and we got the ball where we wanted it. We just couldn't do anything with it. And we didn't turn the ball over. We just missed shots, and they made shots, and it turned back into the ball game. And then Jasmine hits a big shot to, we got down 4 or 5 with about a minute and a half to play. Came back and hit a shot with 6 seconds to put us up by 1, and hindsight's 20/20. We made an adjustment defensively because we thought they were going to drive it right at us, and we didn't really think there was anything we were going to be able to do. And they drove it right at us and shot a layup, and we probably should have stayed the way we were. But those things happen, and again, we're getting closer and closer and closer. But we've just got to break through that little barrier we found.
Hey, Coach, Missouri, a good basketball team, a bigger basketball team, more athletic, but a 19-point lead, that was impressive when you were rolling in the first half.
They had a lot of trouble when we spread them out. They are big and they're long, but they had trouble when we were screening and they were trying to switch, and we would get matchups that were more favorable for us. And when they couldn't solve that riddle or problem, they just said, well, to heck with it, we'll just go zone. But it was probably as sound 25, 30 minutes as we played.
One impressive note that really doesn't show up in the box score, well, it kind of does, was your freshman Massengill. She had 5 steals, and I just thought she was so active in the first half defensively.
She's the type of player that can defend a lot bigger than she is. She's kind of deceptive with her quickness and her speed, and she can very athletic, can jump. And so she's one of those kids that in a stat night could end up with 8 or 9 rebounds, 16 or 18 points, 6 or 7 steals, 4 or 5 assists. I mean, she can do so many different things that we're hoping that as she grows and matures and learns, she's the one that we're going to want in that high post because she can do so many things up there with it. And she got it there a couple of times, and she just didn't look like she was comfortable. And I think only time's going to make that comfortable for her. But she had a very, very good basketball game, and we're hoping that we'll continue to see more from her.
One of the things that impresses me about her and players that can perform like her is that she was obviously the star on her high school team, Miss Basketball. But when you step up, you have to take on a different role, and I think she's taken that on quickly.
Well, she's still learning what that actually is. I mean, we're wanting her to do more. She's kind of feeling her way around, figuring out what she needs to do and where she needs to be. The big difference coming from high school to college is you probably average 20, 25 points or such, and most of the team had to work around you and what you were doing. Mm-hmm. And when you get here or to the college level, you have to figure out a different way of doing all that. And so the ball's not in your hands as much as it used to be, and not just her, all of our freshmen. You're having to figure out how to keep the floor space now, whereas before everybody else was worried about keeping it spaced so they didn't get in your way. And Elizabeth's probably the one that's going to take the longest to figure it out because she's going to have the ball in her hands some, and she's not in other times, and so she's going to have to kind of learn everything. When to space out, when to come in and get the ball, and that's not something you can learn overnight. That's something that's going to take some time, but she's definitely capable of handling whatever we throw at her.
Coach, we have to talk about the performance from one of the Missouri players. Morgan I knocks down 9 3-pointers in the game, and she hit a streak in the second half to bring Missouri back, and it may be one of the best individual performances I've seen from an opponent at the Elam Center.
Well, she did it last year against us at their place. She had 8. Which was the Missouri record. So I guess she broke their record because she hit 9 now. And it was. I mean, she made some shots that were as tough as shots as I've seen anybody hit. And the thing that we talked about it was our program is getting closer and closer and closer to breaking that next level, whatever you want to call it. We started out as a low major, and we've probably played our way and broken through that barrier, and we're probably a mid-major now. Well, in the mid-major, there's probably 2 or 3 different levels, And I think what you're seeing us do right now is we're knocking on that door of being a high mid-major caliber team with the Marists and the Gonzagas. I mean, we're flirting with it. We just can't quite get through or get over that hump. Anytime you reach a level that you're trying to break through, it gets a lot harder to actually get through it. And I think that's kind of what you see from us right now. But my point has been, look what Missouri had to do to keep us down in that game. They had to shoot 55% from three-point range. They had to come from 19 down. They had to shoot 70% from three-point range in the second half. And that hasn't been the case in the past. Yes, we lost. We're not happy about losing. We're not happy about having a chance to beat an SEC team. But what those teams are having to do to beat us now, it's getting more and more and more and more. And if we'll stay the course and we'll keep doing what we're doing, we'll fight through that thing. But life, Chris, and now we're going to get real philosophical. Okay. Anytime that there's a major change, you tend to see the world wants to stay like it is. Mm-hmm. And so anytime you try to make some major change, you get all kinds of resistance. And so I think that's what you've seen from us. You saw it in the Arkansas State game. I mean, we flirted early in that second half of being a very dominant basketball team. Well, we turn around and do it again against Missouri. And what's happening is things are pushing us, trying to hold us back down from accomplishing our goals. And I think our kids are just going to have to keep their focus. And the only way you can do it, the only way I know to do it, is just be relentless. Yeah. And you just keep coming and you keep coming and you keep coming. But, give Missouri credit. They played an unbelievable second half. If you had told them you're going to have to shoot 70% in the second half to win from three-point range and with kids in your face, I mean, that's pressure. But they did it. And, I'd like to win the game, but again, here we come. We're still coming and coming and coming. And that doesn't mean that we won't turn around and fall flat on our face in the next game, but I think over time what you're seeing is we're getting closer and closer and closer.
And how close? You're one possession away from winning that game.
Yeah, we're one mistake that I probably made in the last 6 seconds from winning that ball game. We're one offensive rebound in the first half from winning that ball game. It's getting closer and closer and closer. And you want for your kids and you want for your fans to win those games. But like I told you on the radio that night, I said, evidently we're not quite ready to do that yet. Things happen when they're supposed to happen, how they're supposed to happen, and evidently we haven't lined things up like they're supposed to. And so all we'll do is keep coming.
That's a very Phil Jackson-like philosophy.
Well, I believe it.
Because look, you're up 25 at Arkansas State. You're up 19 against Missouri. I mean, that's phenomenal, playing tremendous basketball, and then you do give up those leads almost at Arkansas State and then to Missouri. So you're seeing a little bit of inconsistency there, but you're seeing tremendous potential.
Yeah, and I think in both of those games, we didn't start playing bad basketball to give up those leads. Mm-hmm. Both teams had to do something extraordinary to get back in the game, and they both did those things. We haven't been in that situation before where a good mid-major team, a high major team has to do those things to beat us. Well, one didn't quite beat us, the other one turned around and beat us. So it's the fact that we're getting closer and closer and closer. But a lot of times, if you think about New Year's resolutions, how long do they take before you break them? Well, you can't stay the course. And that's the biggest thing with change is the world wants to keep everything like it is. So if we're going to make that change, we have to just keep doing what we do. We've got to keep fighting. We've got to keep trying to be more consistent. We've got to keep talking about our effort. We've got to keep focusing on the fundamentals. We've got to keep doing what's brought us here. And you've just got to assume the more you do things the right way, the better chances you're going to have of winning those games. And it just breaks your heart when you see a Butler and a Newsom and what they've done. I mean, you go back to our first year with Kentucky and that bunch, and then you go to Vanderbilt our second year, and then you go to Purdue last year, and those kids have gotten us closer and closer and closer and closer. And you break your heart to not see those guys get some, quote, success. But I can see it. I just don't know. Most of the time you measure it in wins and losses.
We'll come back. We'll talk about Butler and Newsom, another record for Heather Butler at the Elam Center, and we'll look ahead to the week coming up on the Coach Kevin McMillon Show.
At this time, we would like to thank our basketball corporate donors. Parker Hannafin, Carey Insurance, Dynamix, State Farm, Surgical Associates of Martin. Vans Institutional Pharmacy. Walmart. Thank you for your support of UT Martin basketball.
I'm Chris Brinkley on the Coach Kevin McMillan Show. Coach, Heather Butler was phenomenal in the first half against Missouri. She had 21 points and ended up with 36. And in that, she breaks Mary Kate Long's previous mark of 747 field goals. So another record for Heather Butler.
Well, if we look at a record book, it's hard to imagine that Butler and Newsom aren't going to be at the top of just about every category. If Butler was 5'8" or 5'9" and Jasmine was 5'9" or 5'10", they'd probably have reboundings and block shots and whatever else records you could come up with. Part of it is we put the ball in their hands, but a lot of it is the work ethic that those kids put in the off season to put themselves in position to make those kind of plays and score field goals, make three-pointers, get to the free throw line. And it's just a testament to what you can do if you really believe that you should do those kind of things. I mean, if you look at Butler and Newsom, you don't see scoring 45 points or 32 points or breaking this three-point record. You don't see that if you just look at them, but if you watch them day in and day out, records for us, it's kind of like you take it for granted that you watch them do it every single day. So breaking a record, I mean, it's like no big deal. It is a big deal. That record stood for a long time, and so it's a tremendous accomplishment for Butler, and it's a tribute to Mary Kate that it stood for that long. And I'd love to have Mary Kate now, by the way.
Yeah.
But it's just phenomenal what those two continue to do for us with the attention that they're getting every day from defenses.
They do play a lot of minutes. They have played since their freshman year, but they're not only accomplishing career records, but single game records. We saw Jasmine break the record. And as a matter of fact, in the Missouri game, I thought Butler might break the record that Jasmine broke. It seems that those two have pushed each other very nice, and that competitive balance between the two of them makes them better.
They do. The only negative for them is sometimes when one of them gets really on, the other one will step back a little bit. Mm-hmm. And that's a puzzle that we have not yet solved, is to figure out how to get both of them to play at that really, really high level for an entire game. I think you saw probably as close as we've seen against Quinnipiac, when at the end of regulation, one had 32 and the other had 29. And then add the overtime and you get the 44 or 45 and 32. But if we can get those two playing as good as they can play together at the same time, and we get everybody else lined up and doing what they're doing, I mean, you'll take every game the rest of the year no matter what. Hopefully we'll get it, but they both tend to they want to push each other, but they don't necessarily want to outshine. They're not worried about outshining or doing better than the other one. They don't care anything about that.
They're not selfish.
Not at all. And that's probably the reason why they don't both get 35 or whatever, is because they're not worried about it. But, the consummate teammate.
When Butler was making her run against Missouri, Jasmine was on the bench. She had taken her out of the game.
Jasmine was on the bench, and there was a key stretch in the first half where we pulled the lead out from 2 or 3 up to 11, and Jasmine was sitting on the bench, and we've talked about that, and we think, I don't know how intelligent we are, but we think that we're going to try to see if we can't sit them down a little bit to give them a little bit of rest, not just for one game, but for over the season. If you can sneak 2 or 3 minutes a half over a course of a season, you've saved an entire game of their legs.
Yeah.
And so we're going to try that more and see if we can do it. The problem is, it's very simple. You've seen what these kids can do, and you and I have talked about it before. Who's going to suggest you take them out?
Nobody.
And because at any second, one of them can go on a 10-0 run by themselves. And so to take one of them out when they're not, that don't appear tired or don't seem like they need to come out, it's not that wouldn't be good for them. It's just that you don't know, was Jasmine about to flip it on, because we've seen it, and is Butler about to flip? You just don't know. So it's one of those cases that you just don't know when to take them out because you don't know what's about to happen.
Coach, it's Thanksgiving week. You've got 3 games coming up this week. First of all, for the players and basketball coaches, you usually spend Thanksgiving together as a team.
Well, actually, this is the first one we've done. Most Thanksgivings we have taken off and let the players go home for 2 or 3 days, and we do that also at Christmas. We've been able to give them both with our schedule. It's becoming harder to schedule teams, and so we've had to schedule during the Thanksgiving break. So this will be the first year that we've spent it together as a team, which will be kind of special for us. I do wish that they could be with their families, but we're hoping that their families that are making the trip are going to be able to spend a little time with us up there.
Okay.
We'll be in Pittsburgh, and we're going to spend some time after the game against Evansville figuring out whose families are going to be up there, and then we'll try to figure out a place that we can all eat and they can all come in and spend some time with their kids and just kind of have a relaxed Thanksgiving in Pittsburgh in the snow.
And at a restaurant somewhere, I guess.
I hope there's a restaurant open.
Evansville is the opponent. We're recording this on Monday, and tonight you have them at the Elam Center.
Evansville is another three-point shooting team, very much like Missouri. They're a little more up and down. When they put it together, they probably score more points than Missouri does. When they don't put it together, they score a little bit less. So it's a little bit up and down, and they're starting 3 freshmen, which is going to make it up and down for them. But they beat Eastern Illinois by 30. They beat Austin Peay at Austin Peay. So they're capable of playing at a very high level, and we'll see what are we still knocking on that door, or are we going to back up a step?
Then you go to Pennsylvania. You have Winthrop and Northern Kentucky on the schedule. And I was looking at Winthrop. They, just like you, have 2 players that average over 20 points a game.
Winthrop, and it's real interesting. The McClanahan girl, the choice came down to UT Martin and Winthrop. And she went to Winthrop and had a great career.
She's averaging 23 and a half.
She is, and she's a senior this year, and great player. And Winthrop's RPI is in the top 20 in the country right now. That's another big game for us because Winthrop is going to be a top 100 RPI. Like we told you at the beginning of the year, Chris, this is by far our toughest schedule when you look at it as a whole. When you look at how many teams in the top 100 we're going to play this year. Last year we played 5 teams in the top 10, but then after that we didn't have very many top 100. Well, this year we've already played 3 that are 3 of our 5 have been in the top 100 already. And Winthrop will be a 6th. So that the schedule is it's brutal from that standpoint. And if we can pick up some of these wins and later in the year, if you can make it to the NCAA tournament, that's when you get a chance to get out of that 15, 16 seed. So we've got to take advantage of opportunities, but Winthrop's a very good basketball team. So is Northern Kentucky.
Coming off of the big game against Missouri, even though you lost, what do you need to accomplish in these 3 games coming up this week?
Well, I would like to think, to be honest with you, that at the end of these 3 games that we're not talking about effort anymore. I think our effort has been outstanding against Arkansas State, and I thought our effort was outstanding against Missouri. We need to close out a game so that we can kind of put that behind us. I don't think we have to worry about it, but it's one of those things, once you've done it, okay, we're good now and move on, you want to say, okay, we've done it a couple of times, can you sustain it for 2 or 3 more games? And if you do it 3 or 4 or 5 games in a row, then you can probably go, okay, that's all right, what do we need to work on next? And there's a few things that I really want to do, and it may have been, again, we may have lost the game against Missouri because we're focused on one thing, we could have been focused on another, but there's no shortcut. So I really am hoping after Thanksgiving that we've kind of got our effort issues figured out. The team understands what it means to play a 40-minute game, and we're starting to go, okay, now what do we have to do to be a good basketball team?
Okay, Coach, to our fans, happy Thanksgiving, and to you and your family.
Happy Thanksgiving to everybody, Chris, and we're not wishing you one because you're going to be in Las Vegas in the warm up in Pittsburgh in the snow. I'm going to take a picture and send it to you over Thanksgiving. Yeah, send me one from Las Vegas.
That's going to do it for the Coach Kevin McMillon Show. I'm Chris Brinkley. Thanks for watching.
The Coach Kevin McMillon Show is brought to you by BSN Sports.